2 or 3 times a year, my wife and I get together with a couple of dear friends. They're not old friends. It's just that we've been friends for a long, long time. Long time. Over 50 years. But these weekends together generally center around the game table. We stop for food, sometimes for a walk, sometimes for a movie, but games. And the conversations that go along with them. Did I mention games? This is an account of games that we played as a foursome around a 2.5-day weekend from Friday evening to a Sunday afternoon. These are not in any particular order, just happen to be the way I wrote them down. The first game to the table this weekend was Word Flux by Looney Labs. Now, the Flux series has some winners and losers. I've got a bunch of them, at least 8 different versions. Some people would say the entire concept of the game is too chaotic. But this particular version I liked. It was coming up with words from letter cards, and the goals in the game would dictate what kind of word you had to come up with or what letters you had to use or so on. So that was an interesting twist on the game. I liked it a lot. Definitely would like to play this one again. Next is Codenames from Asmodee and a whole bunch of others. I really like Codenames. I've said that many times. I think it's a very clever game and a great challenge. Now, this circle of friends here, we're kind of word people, and we really enjoy trying to come up with those clues that link several words together. Sometimes it's a toughie, but always challenging and always a good time. Thirdly, and again, these are in no apparent order, but America the Beautiful Flux. That was pretty good. It was not too much different than most of the other Fluxes, but we had a good time with it. Well, then we played The Game. Had a good time with this one from 2015. It's a fairly simple concept. You got 2 piles of cards here, and the cards are numbered 1 to 100, and you're trying to build up on one pile and down on the other, up from 1 and down from 100. And you're doing this kind of cooperatively, but you're not supposed to be able to convey to the other players exactly what numbers you have in your hand. There's a particular blend here of frustration and hilarity, I guess you might say. Another fun game we played was called Push. It has a custom colored die that goes with it, and it's definitely a push your luck card game. And it's got an interesting way that you can transfer some of the bad cards to the next player around the table. But playing with 4 is interesting because there's only 3 things that can happen, so that 4th player is generally out of the loop. But the next round, they definitely can jump in on the loop. So it's a fun little game. I liked it pretty well. I guess I liked it enough that I went out and bought a copy for myself, so that says something. Next on the list is a game called Smug Owl. It's a weird name for a game. This one's published by Runaway Parade Games. And it's a very clever concept. The first card says, what? The last card's a question mark. In between, you have 3 piles, one of which is a kind of a descriptive thing. One is a qualifier card, and the other one is an object card. I guess that's a way to grammatically describe. For example, what explodes when it dries? And then you're trying to give clues with a judge in that apples to apples sort of roundabout. But they're so clever, and you come up with some really hilarious answers to this thing. I like Smug Owl, and they've actually come out with an expansion pack for some new cards, and I'd be interested in acquiring that one of these days. Next, we played Anybody's Guess. Now, that's a standby. We go back to that game every time we get together. The joke is that this is one that my friend and I always talk ourselves out of the right answer. This is a trivia-type guessing game where there is an answer and you've got a stack of clues, but each clue gets less vague, and each clue has a number of points attached to it. So if you start out and you get the answer on the first clue, you get 10 points. If you get all the way to the bottom, well, potentially if you never get the answer, then you get no points. But it's like 10, 7, 5, 3, and 0, I think is how it goes. But you're trying to guess on how well your opponents are going to do guessing this answer. It's a really terrific game. Very dated. It's like from 1990, but it's a really fun game. We have a good time with it. Here's another one from the same time period, 1997. It's called Finish Lines, kind of an obscure game. But the idea is that you're given the first part of some famous phrase or song or poem or play or document, and you have to finish the phrase. So, for example, it was the best of times. Camptown ladies sing this song. So it takes a certain level of literacy, I guess, to play the game, but we have a good time with it. And it's interesting how many things you can recall simply by the rhythm of the thing, not knowing what the actual source of the clue is. However, we've made up some house rules over the years, and if you can guess what the source of the clue is exactly, then you get a bonus point. The board is just basically a score track, and the board has little things on the spaces that if you land here, you get 2 points, or junk like that. We ignore those and just keep score. We don't even need to keep score. We play it in the car. Played a fairly recent one called Blank Slate. It's another one of those match your fellow players type games where there's a clue given, and then everybody writes down their answer. And if you match everybody else, you get points. If you match just one other person, you get a point, so on and so on. Match the guesser, you get a point, I think. It's simple. It's just fun. Again, depending on the answer, sometimes hilarity ensues. If you like wits and wagers or fun facts or just one, you'd really like this game, Blank Slate. It's distilled down to the very essence of that. Match your fellow players' guesses. We also played Picture Perfect. This is the one where you set up all these people behind a screen here, and you're trying to please the people. Each of them has a desire of where to be positioned in a photo. So it's a group photo that you're trying to set up, and for example, one of the characters might say, I don't want to be next to the table. Another character might say, well, I don't want to be next to a woman. Or another character might say, I don't want that character to be seen. So you're trying to arrange all these guys, and there's a sort of a pass and play thing similar to Clue, where there's envelopes full of hidden clues, and you might complete the game without ever having an opportunity to see all the clues, so you have to make some guesses. It's really a clever game, and we had fun playing that one. Ship Shape. I really think Ship Shape is an underrated one. I think it's a fun game. It uses these great huge cards with holes in them, and you're trying to bid on which of the cards you can get to put in your ship. And the way these holes work is that if you get your hold in your ship full and you look down through those cards and you can still see the rats at the bottom, then you still have negative points. So you're trying to cover them. There's other scoring mechanisms, very Reiner Knizia-ish way that they rely on each other to score certain points. But it's a very fun. It could work with a lot of different themes too. If you're not into pirate games, not to worry. It's just a good game. We played a new one called Time's Up Family Edition. This is one I picked up at the Gamma convention this spring. We've played Time's Up Title Recall for years. It's just an amazing party game. You just end up laughing. There's no way that you can not laugh. It relies a lot on memory. It's 3 rounds of clue giving. The first, you can do anything to get people to guess the answer. The second time around, you can only use single word clues. And then the third round, you can only use charades. And now I don't like charades generally, but this really packages that whole process very well. And this new version will never be outdated like the Title Recall is, because that used titles of movies and famous people and such that younger generation might not really be familiar with, so they're sort of handicapped. In this particular case, the clues are all about stuff, standard household items, or things as simple as mountains or rivers or things like that. It's a really great version of the game, so if you find the family edition, grab that one. It's fun. There are 3 other games that we played during this weekend. They are Quaro, Silver and Gold, and Skullduggery. I've already done videos on all 3 of those games, and so I will direct you to the show notes where I'll put the links in there so you can take a look at those videos and see the other 3 games that we played. So it was 15 games that we played in that 2-day weekend. Not unusual for us to do that. Several of them we played multiple times, and there were a lot of games that we enjoy that we didn't get to play during the weekend. There's only so many hours there, but that just saves us more games for next time. They're just fun little light games, and we really enjoy. Now, that said, some of those word games can be brain burners, but we're word people generally anyway, so we kind of enjoy that stuff. And so until next time I get a chance to convey to you all the games that I played during a given month or weekend, I will remind you to be sure to play every day. I like Space Base and Flamecraft and Quacks of Quedlinburg. Quaro, that's a good one. I like the big Firefly game if I've got time. And what's that one about conflict in medieval Japan? Francis Drake, I always enjoyed that one. That's nice. There's one called Farlight we haven't played in a long time. And my son just recently reminded me of Iron Dragon. Oh, that was a good game. I'll have to get that off the shelf again one of these days. So many games, so little time.